Hi guys, welcome back to Too Cool for Middle School. I thought I would start doing this new thing on my channel where I review some of the products that I've bought from Teachers Pay Teachers, because sometimes I get these really cool lessons and worksheets or bundles or whatever, and I talk about them on Instagram, like on my Instagram stories or on Snapchat, but I don't have a place where you can like come back to on my YouTube channel and look up those resources again. So I have a lot of really good resources that I want to show you. I just thought I would start with 2 today, and then maybe over the next couple of weeks I can show you a couple more that I've really liked. I have my Teachers Pay Teachers app right here, which is pretty nice because sometimes I forget the name of the seller or like how much it was, so I can just look at my purchases list, and I've purchased a lot of stuff. So the first thing that I thought I would show you are these reading response journals by Create, Teach, Share. This was a $5 bundle, and I printed it out on like light purple paper. You can kind of see this. There are 10 pages altogether. I used this with my Read 180 class. I teach a 6th grade Read 180 class, but we don't have, now I forget what it's called, but like all those like smaller books that they can read. Like you're supposed to get this little library and then they can read those little books and then like take a comprehension test through Read 180, and I don't have that, and they're not going to get it for me. So there was no way for me to kind of support their silent reading. Like we have a little silent reading time during class, but they were just kind of bored during it, or there were kids who were staying on the same book for like months and months at a time, like the same page even, because they didn't really have the reading skills necessary to even enjoy reading. I can hear Jensen playing with something over there. He's getting real loud. So anyway, with that class, I just kind of came to a place in my mind where I realized like, okay, they're not really at a 6th grade level. I need to kind of start treating it more like a elementary class. And so I started looking for more elementary geared resources on Teachers Pay Teachers. And so that's when I found this reading response journal, and I just really wanted to help them with their reading skills. So I would have done things a little bit differently. Like next time I'll do things a little bit differently. So I'll show you the things that I would change, but for the most part, this was really cool. So I made everybody a little packet like this, and I wrote all my students' names on it, and then I had one as well, and I even put like little stickers. I was like, we're just gonna make this as cute as possible so that they will enjoy it. I kept these in my classroom, and then I got these out every day when we did our little rotations. So we do 4 rotations. I have about 28 kids in my class, I think, and they all need help for one reason or another. And so I need time to work with small groups, because 28 is still kind of a lot to try and, you know, give them individualized attention. So we do 4 like 15 to 20 minute stations. So they're with me for one station, and then they go and like spend more time on their journal. It's like their writing station. Then they do a Read 180 station and a silent reading station. And so it works kind of well because they do like the silent reading before they come to me, and then they've got me, and then they can go work on their packet a little bit more. Sometimes it's a bummer if you start at like a weird station, your rotation gets a little bit thrown off, but I just try and vary it every day. The other thing is that sometimes we would do like a group lesson through vocabulary, just to teach some of the content, like setting, for example. There's a vocabulary lesson on setting, and so maybe the day before we did this, we would do like the video, and then there's little quizzes and activities. And so I kind of varied it. This took us a couple weeks to get through because we usually spent a few days on each topic. So anyway, I keep not showing you the topics. So the one of them is making connections, and the way that I copied this is like these are 2 different pages, you know, so this is kind of like the directions for making connections, and then on this side you do your writing. So I just made sure to do the copies so that they could see both of them at the same time. It would be a little bit hard if you had to like flip from front to back. So it's nice that this is just all like this. So I would suggest that if you're making copies. There's also asking questions, making predictions, writing a summary, which I would have done like more toward the end. We kind of jumped around in this because it wasn't in the most logical order. Making inferences, visualizing, and I'll talk about that in a second. Characters, which I would have put more toward the front because that's kind of the easier one. Setting, which I definitely would have put more toward the front. Theme, which is the hardest, so you usually do that last. And then point of view, and I also would have done that a little bit earlier, so now I would just switch the order, but it didn't really matter because we just jumped around to different pages. It's only 10 pages long, so it's not that hard if you have to just flip to the last page or whatever. So you could do this with the same book. Like if you were reading a novel as a class, you could definitely use this to kind of like work through that novel. I'm just trying to get my class to read on their own, so I let them pick any book that they wanted. We go to the library once a week and they can pick a book. So we started this like the day after a library day, so they would for sure have a book. In our little meetings, we read through the definitions of making connections, and then you have to write it right here. So like making connections helps readers to better understand and relate to a text. And then there's 4 types of connections: text to self, text to text, text to media, and text to world. And we circled the ones that we were going to write about. I really, really like these sentence frames down at the bottom. And so I would have my students like go through and read them out loud. So this reminds me of, I can relate to blank because, I understood blank because, and I had them read through all of these out loud just so they could kind of start forming a sentence in their mind. Over here, they have to write the book title and author, the chapters that they're on, and the date, just so that I can see that they're like making progress. It's okay if they like finish a book and then pick up a new one in the middle of this packet. That's all right. It doesn't have to be always the same exact book. Or for example, if they forget their book and they need to pick up a different one, like from your classroom library or something, it's possible to do it that way. It's not necessary that they do the same book the entire time. So I would always have them do 3 sentence frames over here, and they could choose any of the sentence frames. And then I would have them say them out loud, like with, you know, the blanks filled in. So I would give them a little bit of think time, and they always had to bring their book with them to our little small group and then kind of reference their book. I would do examples, and then I think it just helped to say examples out loud so that students could see like what would go in those blanks. So for example, I said, this is similar to Hamilton the musical because the characters include Hercules Mulligan and Eliza Schuyler. So that's a very simple sentence. It doesn't require a ton of thought. All I'm doing is making a connection between, I think I did that one was text to media, so it was similar to a play. My next sentence was, this reminds me of the song My Shot when Alexander talks about his goals. And again, that was text to media. And then I think text to world, I used that one as well. And a sentence starter where I said, I understand the discussions about taxation by the British from studying US history. Sorry, I keep having to take coughing breaks. Ugh, I'm so kind of sick today. I think I got it from the baby. It's a little bit difficult to talk. So anyway, I like though that like we are not conquering this whole book on this page. All we're doing is making connections to things in our own lives or something that we've read in another book or saw on TV or something like that. You don't have to tackle the whole book. It's just that one thing. The asking questions page was good. And then, you know, like from here to here, you just write down the types of questions that you would ask or when to ask questions. When you don't understand something, when you wonder about something, etc. And it helps them to actually write these things down. Like, yes, they read it here, but they need to write it down again just to kind of internalize it a little bit more. Making predictions one was good. Writing a summary was one of the hardest. I would do this like second to last. I would put this toward the end, and they give you 4 options for writing a summary. I'm a fan of the someone wanted but so then. I like that way of doing a summary for a fiction text. I think that's just an interesting way to think about it. Making inferences always seems kind of hard, but it's kind of nice that this lays it out pretty well, and so then something that they think is going to be really hard ends up pretty easy. Okay, visualizing was a tough page for us. I need a cough drop. This girl the other day who's an English learner was like, just so you know, I'm not sucking on candy, I just have throat candy. Like, oh, okay, like I need some throat candy today. So anyway, for visualizing, so many of my students read the Diary of a Wimpy Kid or like Dork Diaries books, or just other kind of graphic novel-y type books, like the Ghost one, you know, that the visualizing is kind of done for them and they don't have to visualize anything about the plot or the setting or the characters. And so I would say when you do this, they probably need to have a book that does not have a million pictures in it in order to like actually do the visualizing page. So that was kind of weird. I really liked this resource. It was $5 and I think I'll use it over and over again. I would definitely do it every year with my students. My regular 6th grade classes, I don't know if it would be as useful, but for a little bit younger or for like struggling readers, I think this is a really good way to give them some of those reading skills for fiction, because they just don't always have them. And I do think it's a good idea to let the kids use whatever book they want, at least at first. Like maybe I would use this again for a novel study. I think we'll do a novel study at the end of the year. It would be nice to see how they progress. Okay, so the second resource I wanted to show you was this Civil Rights Main Ideas and Summarize unit by Hubbard's Cupboard. This was $8 on Teachers Pay Teachers. It is a lot of pages. I think I just went and printed the whole thing without really thinking about it. Usually I'll just look really closely at the unit and only print the pages I need, because sometimes you get a lot of extra things that just waste your ink, but this was the whole thing. This is for 4th to 7th grade, and then I used it with my 6th graders, and it was like perfect level for just my regular 6th grade classes. So it starts with some texts that are actually very well written, really good, really interesting. So they're usually 2 pages long. I just did front and back, and I made a little packet out of all of these readings. And so there's one on the reasons and causes of the Civil Rights Movement, just gives them some nice background. The young people of the Civil Rights Movement. And I actually used just this one reading with my Read 180 class. They just did this one and they really liked it. The bus boycott, the Greensboro College students, sorry, it's kind of hard to show you all of them. Birmingham in 1963, the March on Washington, that one's only 1 page, and then this is only 1 page, Memphis, Tennessee, 1968, when Martin Luther King Jr. is assassinated. These are really good readings, and I like that they kind of cover a lot of the different aspects of the Civil Rights Movement and not just Martin Luther King Jr. There's a lot about like Ruby Bridges and the children that were part of the Civil Rights Movement. We did this like around Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and so it kind of put that into context. You get example pages with everything, so that's kind of nice for you as the teacher, because you're like, what is this supposed to look like when they're done? But you can start with this KWL chart, and this one's just the example. And then they are supposed to annotate all their readings, and we did that, and it got us in a really good habit of annotating everything that we read. So again, this is another example. And so I gave them this, and this had little codes, like a star for if it's interesting, a peace sign if you wonder something, equal sign if you agree, heart if it's important, all that stuff. So they had to do an annotation little graphic for every paragraph, and then also write down a thought. So if you do the star, like, wow, that's interesting, write down what is interesting so that you can go back and remember that later. Oh, they really liked this main ideas strategy, just because the graphics are so cool. So for each paragraph, they do the main idea and then some details. And so this is super cute. Like it has little thought bubble, main idea, and then a little like bullhorn and a protest sign and stuff like that. So they really enjoyed doing this, and it helped them figure out the main idea a little bit better, I think. Oh, I liked this as well. This was a shrinking summary. This was like for the next reading. So you've got your who, what, when, where, and why, and then they had to write a summary in each of these boxes as it got smaller and smaller. And so just like fill the big box and then get it down so that you really just narrow it down to the most important information. Thought that was kind of fun. Here's the example one. And then like it kind of weans them off some of the help. So then for one of the readings, we just did like Cornell Notes style, where you come up with the main idea and the details, but you have less like graphic organizer support. Like this is a more realistic way of having to do it. So that was kind of nice. They did write a essay when this was over, and this was the little pre-write graphic organizer, and it's got Martin Luther King down there. I have a dream. All the graphics in this are awesome. Like here's the rubric, and everything has like these cute little borders, and a lot of my students could spend some time like just coloring in the little graphics after they were done reading, or let me go take care of that, hold on. He's in his little walker and he found something to bang against like the leg of a chair. So anyway, they write their essay on this paper, you know, it's blank, but I had them like color the border, and it looks so pretty. It just looks so nice. So I'm going to use these for open house and put them up on open house night. I just really appreciate nice graphics in a unit, and my students really did too. Like this was one of their favorite things. Oh, this was another good activity, a gist summary where they actually had to, well, this is one side and then this is the other side, where you literally had to do like a 35-word summary or a 25-word summary, and this was kind of a fun way to try and like get those exact numbers of words and like narrow it down. And then I used this with my Read 180 class just for like other readings, just to help them summarize. And so these aren't so specific that you can only use them for this unit. You could use them for other stuff too. There were a couple other activities that we just didn't do. Like you can do this like silhouette doodle thing. This is like a silhouette of Dr. Martin Luther King. Oh, here's some of their other bundles. Actually, we're gonna do the Greeks at the end of the year, so that would have been good. And here's like a President's Day one. Oh, they just have like everyday literacy, determining theme. That would be good. I like this Hubbard's Cupboard maker, so maybe I'll buy more of their stuff. So anyway, the resource itself is great. Again, love the graphics. I love the content. I would just say that you have to be knowledgeable about this content because a lot of questions are going to come up. So, and this is like my area, like I teach history, but I just used this as like an informational reading and like summary and main idea unit in my English class. And you have to be comfortable talking about uncomfortable things. Like that's kind of my specialty as a history teacher. You get really used to that, and I am very comfortable talking about issues of race, multicultural history, and African American history, and like protests. One of the really cool things that we realized as we went through this unit was how strategic and patient and well organized the civil rights movement was, and how they were up against so much hate and so much strength, especially, you know, against the KKK. Like, how are you gonna beat the KKK? You can't out-hate them. And so they used weakness against strength. So like Rosa Parks, for example, they chose her specifically. Like, she didn't just one day like not feel like moving to the back of the bus, and just like, it wasn't really an organic process. She was chosen to do that on purpose. They weren't going to use like a younger male that could have, you know, come off as threatening. They purposely used like this smaller, older lady with glasses in a dress, so that if the police mistreated her, it was going to look really odd. Even people that, you know, weren't in support of the civil rights movement were going to be a little bit like, oh, really? But you're beating up that old lady? And then they had to use children in the Children's March in Birmingham after marches with adults weren't really working. So they were purposely using their weakness to like highlight the hate. And so, you know, the college students sitting at the counter, they had food thrown in their face, coffee thrown in their face, people were yelling at them, and they just sat there silent and did not respond. So that takes incredible patience, incredible self-control, but as the person who's attacking them, eventually you're gonna feel really dumb, right? You're gonna feel really stupid after you're sitting there yelling these things at them and throwing stuff at them, and they don't even move. They do not fight back. And so that was one of the really important strategies of the civil rights movement and why it actually worked. And it took a long, long time. You know, the bus boycott took over a year for that to work. So people had to walk to their jobs or carpool or be inconvenienced for a long time. But you have to hit people in their wallet sometimes. Sometimes, you know, you can't appeal to their sense of human decency. It's not going to work. You just have to appeal to their wallet. So I feel like we learned a lot of interesting things about protesting and about good, effective, well thought out protesting. And I think that's an important thing to just kind of have somewhere in your mind. Jensen's gonna come wrap this up with me. You're getting into too much trouble over there. So we did this unit in January of 2017, which I don't know how long this particular video on YouTube is gonna last, but if you're watching this like 50 years in the future, that was a time of a lot of civil unrest and political unrest, and people are really, really in support of our new president, and then there are people who do not support our new president, and there have been marches and demonstrations. And we talked about the March on Washington the Monday after the Women's March happened in LA, and some of my students went to the Women's March, like with their moms, and then, you know, we're talking about the March on Washington 2 days later, and so it was just a really interesting time to do this unit. And I think it's very important to teach kids about successful protests and how to be politically active and still be respectful and still be kind. I mean, Martin Luther King Jr., every time I learn more and more about him, I'm just in awe of his leadership and his self-control and his patience. And then another thing that this unit highlights is that it wasn't just him. There were so many others who were involved in the civil rights movement. So I loved teaching this unit. I would like to do it every single year. You could do it, during the month of January for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. You could do it like during Black History Month if you wanted. I never celebrate Black History Month. Me and my husband were talking about this the other day because I just cover that all the time. And so I don't know, I never make a pointed effort to do anything during February. But if you do, this would be a good unit for that. I think this one was $8. Can't remember if I said that. And it is excellent. Isn't it good? Isn't it good? Yes, yes, yes. You are such a cutie. I can't even handle it. I can't even handle it. You're so cute. Okay, he is getting into everything. So if you have any other questions about those units, leave them in the comments below. I would be happy to talk to you about them. And I'll be doing a couple of other TPT reviews in the future because there is a lot of good stuff on there. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We will see you soon. Bye.